right? Do we get a microphone or no? Okay, thank you. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunna Viharude Jaya Radha Madhava Kunna Viharude Jaya Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravaticharya also Cheta Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Marshila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Friends, say Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sayama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Jagadadha Swami Ki Jai. Yugunamai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay. So, today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, text 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's not written down. Some of you may have it on your devices. Anyway, we'll do the best we can. Jnanam Yad Apradnivrita Gunormi Chakram Atma Prasada Uta Tatra Guneshu Sangha Kaivalya Samata Patas Tu Ata Bhakti Yoga Ka Nirvito Hari Katasu Ratim Na Kuryad Jnanam Yan Apratin Nirivo. Alright, so Jnanam Yada Pratini Vritta Gunormi Chakram Atma Prasada Utagat Yatra Guneshva Sangha Kaivalya Sammata Patastvata Bhakti Yoga Ko Nirvito Harikatha Suratim Nakuryat Jnanam Yada Apratinivrita Gunormi Chakram Atma Prasada Utayatra Guneshva Sangha Kaivalya Samata Patastvata Atwata Bhakti Yoga Ko Nirvito Harikathasu Kuryat Yanam Yad Tinivritta Gunormi Chakram Atma Prasada Udayatra Guneshva Sangha Kaivaya Samatapatastvata Bhakti Yoga Nirvito Harikatasu Ritim Nakuryat. Okay. Okay. Jnanam, knowledge. Yat, that which. Up to the limit of. Pratinivritta, completely withdrawn. Guna urmi, the waves of the material modes. Chakram, whirlpool. Prasada, self-satisfaction. Uta, moreover. Yatra, where there is. Guneshu, in the modes of nature. Asanga, no attachment. Kaivalya, transcendental. Samatha, approved. Pada, path. to, but, ata, therefore, bhakti yoga, devotional service, ka, who, nivrita, absorbed in, harikatasu, in the transcendental topics of the Lord, ratim, attraction, na, shall not, kuryat, do. Translation, transcendental knowledge in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the material modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfied due to its being free from material attachment, and being transcendental, it is approved by authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? So purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. According to Bhagavad Gita 10.9, the characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. Of course, Machita, Makata, Pranat, Orientascha, Parasparam, Katyantascha, Mahampucham, Tushanti Cha, Romanti Cha. Famous verse. After Krishna reveals himself, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu Sarva Pravartane. So, anyway, we'll speak about that in a second. The complete functional activities of a pure devotee are always engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, the pure devotees exchange feelings of ecstasy between themselves and relish transcendental bliss. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice, sadhana avastha, if properly undertaken under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And in the mature stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates, that means comes to the conclusion, in realization of the particular relationship with the Lord, by which a living entity is originally constituted, there's that statement, originally constituted, up to the relationship of conjugal love with the Lord, which is estimated to be the highest transcendental bliss. Thus, Bhakti Yoga, being the only means of God realization, is called Kaivalya. Actually, Kaivalya is sometimes understood as impersonal realization too, which means, Kaivalya means actually in this particular context, means it has no material attachment. Okay. But in another context it means impersonalism. Like Prabhupada Saraswati, he had this quote, Kaivalya Narakayate, that impersonal liberation is hell, but negation of the material modes is not hell. Srila Jiva Goswami quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayano Deva Para Puranam Param Aste Kaivalya Sangita. In this connection, and establishes that Narayana is the personality of Godhead, is known as Kaivalya, and the means by which one to approach the Lord is called the Kaivalya Panta, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kaivalya Panta means the path, Panta means path, begins from Shravana, or hearing those topics that relate to the personality of Godhead, and the natural consequence of hearing such harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment. That's the Kaivalya right there. from all mundane topics for which a devotee has no taste at all. For a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive, and in the mature state, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body. And what to speak of bodily relatives? In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of the material modes. There are different modes of material nature, and all mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested, or which he takes part, become unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is described herein as pratini vriddha gunorni, and it is possible by atma prasada, or complete self-satisfaction without any material connection. The first-class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotional service, but despite his loftiness for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into a devotional service, even mundane interests, just to give the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Srila Rupa Goswami has described this action of a pure devotee as Nirvana Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchate. That basically means one becomes attached to Krishna and detached from the material world by using or connecting everything in this material world to Krishna, and using everything in the material world to Krishna, and that is really vairagyam. Vairagyam means to be free from the desire to enjoy the world, like vairagya, without passion. Even mundane activities dovetailed with the service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental or approved kaivalya affairs. Again, verse, Sanskrit. Ajnanam yada apradini vritta gunoni chakrama prasada utayatra guneshva sangha kaivalya samvatapatas tvatta bhakti yoga ko nirvito harikatasu pratimna kuryat. So Om Gana Tivadandasha Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Minitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this particular purport of many different subject matters mentioned here. And actually, one interesting point is towards the end of the purport. Srila Prabhupada reveals his particular situation in Krishna consciousness as a pure devotee. He says, basically, even though one is self-satisfied, because Prabhupada describes the perfectional stage of devotional service, in which one actually realizes their transcendental nature. And Prabhupada, interestingly enough, he says it remembers their transcendental nature. So this is interesting because it also reflects on a particular discussion many devotees are having at present. And that discussion is our transcendental nature inherent or is it inherited? It's interesting. And I'll describe what I mean. Is it part of us, always part of us, even now it's part of us, even now do we have Krishna Prema, but it's covered. Or do we get it from someone else? Interesting discussion, isn't it? So people take both sides of the argument. Some people say, well, you gotta get it from someone else. And other people say it's already there, but that someone else will help you awaken it. Okay. So, what does Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami say about that particular point? Interesting. He says, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem, Sajakoro Nai, Shravanadi Shudachite, Kore Udoy. Interesting verse. He answers that particular question or argument. He says, Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha, of course, refers to someone who's eternally liberated, but it also refers to something that's always there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. That Krishna Prem is always there. Saja Koronoi. Saja Koronoi means it's not something you get. Which is interesting because normally we think the saja or goal of Krishna consciousness is what? Krishna Prem. But it's not something that you obtain, it's something that you have. Interesting. So you all have Krishna Prem. Of course you don't experience it at present. You all have Maya Sukhaya, right? Maya Sukhaya, the happiness, or Dukkaya, Maya Dukkaya, Maya Sukhaya. So, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem. Sajakura Noi. It's not something you obtain, it's something you have. And then, but how do you get it? Again, referring to this verse. Shravanadi. The first of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte. Shuddha Chitte means one gets clear consciousness, pure pure heart. Shuddha Chitte. Kora Udoy. By that process. And that process comes from hearing again. Shushro Shradanasha Vasudeva Kadaji Shan Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Shivna. And that hearing is service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not that simply you work with your hands in that service, but hearing is the first aspect of service, and without hearing properly, then there is no advancement in devotional service. And also, not only hearing properly, one must hear from the lips of a pure devotee, like we're hearing from Prabhupada today. Satam Vasandan Mama Virya Sandaro Bhavanti Ritkarna Rasayana Kata Tajoshanalasu Apavarga Vartmani Shruda Vatir Vatir Anukrameshati. So one who hears in the association of devotees from pure devotees, prasangam means association, and you hear about Krishna's heroic activities, wonderful activities, and Krishna's philosophy, Krishna's devotee, Mamavirya Samvedam, that talks about Krishna's heroic activities. Bhavanti Ritkarna, that sound vibration will enter from your ear to your heart. Rasayana Kata. It's the same thing. Shuddha Chitte, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitte, Kori Udoy. So it will enter from the ear to your heart. And then, Bhakti Ritkarna Rasayana Kata. Tajoshat Ashu Apavarga Vartmani. Then you become free. Is this Kaivalya again? Apavarga Vartmani, you proceed on the path of liberation. The word Apavarga is also very interesting in this respect. It means freedom from Pavarga. Pavarga means basically what you're all experiencing at the present to a greater or lesser degree. Hard work, Parishma, sometimes foaming at the mouth because you're working too hard, and ultimately old age and riches, death. So we proceed on the path of deathlessness and eternal life from the bliss of knowledge. Apavarga Vartmani, that path. But that path has many different steps, as Srila Prabhupada points out here in the purport. And that path is elaborated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And this famous quote at all, Shraddha Nata Sadhu Ta Bhajana Kriya. So that path is, in the beginning, is what? A little interest, a little faith, Adoshrana, and then one begins to associate Sadhu Sangota with the devotees. So that's the second step. And as we were talking about last night, without association with the devotees in the proper way, you don't proceed any more in devotional service. I mentioned last night, the proper way is loving exchanges. Dadati pratigurnati guyam akati prachati bhute vojite jaya. Priti lakshanam. Priti lakshanam means to love Krishna's devotees, to serve them with love. That means every devotee. Even if some devotee doesn't like you, it happens. It happens to me all the time. Not that everyone loves me. Then you have to love them. That is the secret. Just like the question was raised last night, how to make a change in the community. Well, first of all, you have to be the change you want to make. You understand what I mean? Sometimes we want to change others or change the situation. Right? Or we want to blame others for our present situation. But nobody is to blame but yourself. You be the change that you want to make. And in this way you'll have the proper sadhu sangha, or you'll have the proper association with the devotees. And in this way you can actually make some progress. But if you don't, you won't go beyond that stage. You'll simply be at the initial stage, or even you can regress if you offend the devotees, or even if you have the wrong mood towards the devotees. It's described even when a Vaishnava comes to your house. Of course, what to speak of prasadam, but you should gladly receive them rather than just looking at them with stares, thinking, why'd you come here? I was just getting ready to eat. Instead, take your own prasadam and feed them. Like Prabhupada said, the temple and people's homes, it's not just the temple, your home also. When a guest comes, you should be ready to feed them. So many stories like that. And so that is proper sangota, association with the devotees. Even the person you don't like. Well, obviously you should not have that attitude towards anyone. But at least even the person who doesn't like you should care for them. Look at Haridas Thakur. What to speak of devotee? I mean, he was actually praying for the welfare of those who were beating him. And of course, in the Christian tradition, you have Jesus Christ, who was saying these people should be forgiven. And so many different examples of that. Lord Nityananda, Jagaya Madhaya. So anyway, especially with the devotees. And so, Ado Shraddha Sadhu Sangota, then you can actually execute Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means the activities of devotional service. And when you're executing the activities of devotional service, You have to work on getting rid of your anarthas. Anartha nivriti shat. Anarthas means unwanted things. Part of that is, but unwanted things, is the anger towards devotees. And you can counteract it with the positive. Just like it's mentioned here in the purport, you can counteract material attachment by being attached to the spiritual. As Lord Kapiladev says in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the same attachment that one has towards material persons and material things, if we focus on spiritual persons, that attachment will be the cause of your liberation, or Krishna consciousness. So it's not wrong to be attached, but you're attached to the wrong thing. I often get the question from people, how can I become free from material attachments? How can I become free from lust? How can I become free from anger? All these different anarthas, kama, krodha, madhavatsarya, varyavaya. And the way is to become attached to spiritual personalities. That's the way. And attachment means not simply, I love the way you look. I love your lotus feet. That's not attachment. That's infatuation. But attachment means we follow the directions of the great personalities. If one is more advanced, we serve them. Equally advanced, we make friendship with them. This is nectar instruction again. And one who's less advanced, they're an object of our compassion. So that's the point. With the more advanced devotees, we become attached to them by being attached to their instructions. Like my attachment, whatever attachment I have to Prabhupada, is based on attached to serving his mission. I'm attached to serving his devotees, as we mentioned last night. And this attachment is the same as attachment that is directly the attachment to Prabhupada. Whereas if I was just chanting, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, and I just treat you all like garbage, then I'm not attached to Prabhupada. I'm attached to my image, who I think Prabhupada is. I'm attached to myself. So anyway, Sarva Sango Ta, Vajanal Kriya, and then, anartha, that's how you get rid of the anarthas. Also, another way to get rid of the anarthas is that you act as if you were free from the anarthas, even though you're not. What does that mean? Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pashta Vegam. In other words, you may have some inclination to be angry, you may have some inclination to be lusty, you may have some inclination to be greedy, but you tolerate it. That's the intelligence platform. So, anartha vritti shot. And then, that's when you become steady in devotional service. Like Vishwanath Prabhu mentioned last night, every day they say Ved Mangalarti. And the reason is I'm attached to Prabhupada. It's all coming from sadhu sangha, association with Prabhupada, association with the devotees. I'm attached to Prabhupada, and also I'm attached to setting a good example for all of you. It's two things. So it goes up and it goes down. If I love all of you and love all the devotees, then I'll be very attached to setting the example for all of you, even if I didn't get enough sleep the night before, which happened last night. Due to the mercy of all of you. Compassion. So, because I know, if I don't come, then that example will hurt you in your spiritual life. So you understand? So it's that sadhu sangha on both levels. Interesting. that actually keeps me going. Prabhupada and all the rest of the devotees. And then also, if we have people who are equally advanced, we're attached to their association, friendship. I got one nice god sister here. Very happy, livening to see Bhagavati, isn't it? So we were attached, so that attachment, when it's focused on all the devotees, that attachment will get you to the Anartha Vritti stage. And that attachment will help you become nishtha, or fixed, 24 hours a day. Real nishtha means 24/7. That means 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. That not only when you're doing your sadhana, but throughout the rest of the day, you're setting an example. You're serving Krishna. You're attached to the devotees. You're attached to your spiritual master. It's nice. Then, machita makata prana paryantascha parasprana katyantascha mamnacha tushanti cha pramanti cha. Then you're always going to be satisfied, even if there's not enough prasadam. Even if all the prasadam, the Sunday feast, is eaten by the guests, you'll be happy because everyone else is eating nicely. Like Prabhupada. In the early days, Prabhupada cooked for everybody. And it's described that one person, he would eat 21 or 22 rotis at each meal. And Prabhupada did not say no rotis for you. Prabhupada himself rolled the roti, because they didn't know how to do it. Prabhupada didn't have any help at that point. Prabhupada cleaned up after them. And he had a very simple life. Just sitting on the floor, basically with a little cushion all the time. And using a very small table as his desk. And then at night, he would wake up. Oh, of course he never slept. But he would get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and do his writing to finish the Bible because of his love for the devotees. He was already on the highest platform. As we mentioned, Prabhupada points this out in this verse, purport. He says sometimes the pure devotee who is immersed, absorbed in his relationship with Krishna, that means directly experiencing the interaction with Krishna and his rasa, or relationship. Like you find the stories of Srinivasacharya, who would sit and he would go into meditation for 3 or 4 days. And his pure disciple, Ramchandra Kaviraj, would sit next to him. And they would enter into the same meditation. And Srinivasacharya's wife was worried, what's happening with my husband? So he was absorbed. And Prabhupada is also on that level. He could just be completely absorbed in interacting with Krishna, whatever his relationship is. One should not guess. Devotees should not guess what Prabhupada's relationship is. And devotees should not go around telling everybody that they are of a particular relationship, even if they've realized it. That's sahaja. But anyway, so Prabhupada was absorbed like that, and out of his love for the Vaishnavas, sadhu sangha, he engages in yukta vairagya, which is mentioned here in the verse. Yukta vairagya, of course, means using things in Krishna's service, which Prabhupada had no taste for. He had taste for compassion and helping people. But it's not that Prabhupada was thinking like I may think, hey, I like computers. Okay, let me use it in Krishna's service. It goes in a little different direction for a pure devotee. A pure devotee is, I want to do what's necessary to serve Krishna, therefore I will use computers. And the rest of us, dovetailing, which Prabhupada comments on is called dovetailing, are thinking, hey, I'd really like to use computers. How can I use them in Krishna service? Or I really like my mobile phone. How can I use it in Krishna service? Or I really like my car. How can I use it in Krishna service? So it's complete. They're coming at Yukta Vairagya from a different direction. Pure devotee and the neophyte. So anyway, by this compassion and love, either from our position or Prabhupada's position, results in preaching Krishna consciousness. Isn't it? Yukta Vairagya. What did it do? Oh, that's the fan. That's all right. So anyway, that's the process. Sadhu Sangota Bhajana Nartana Vritti, and then Nishta. Then one gets a taste, all from the Sadhu Sangha. Then, Nishta, Ruchi, Ashakti, one becomes completely attached to Krishna, and then Bhava, and then finally Prema. So that's the process of devotional service. We only have 2 minutes left for class. Anyone have any questions or comments? Questions? Comments? Vishnu? Or Doctor?
How does expressing gratitude towards each other help in relationship?
Well, when we express gratitude for something someone did for us in Krishna consciousness, that encourages the devotee. Prabhupada also liked when people would express gratitude towards him. Because this is feedback. It's feedback. You've done something for Krishna. I like it if someone says, Maharaj or Guru Maharaj or whatever the relationship is, that thank you very much for enlightening me in this particular subject matter. Thank you very much for doing this service. It encourages me because I know that Krishna is pleased. How do I know if Krishna is pleased? Through the Vaishnavas. I can think Krishna is pleased when he's not pleased. Isn't it? We all do things that we think, it's going to be pleasing to Krishna, but it's not pleasing to Krishna. Or we may think when we're looking at the deities that Krishna is pleased with us, but Krishna may be thinking, this rascal. So we know from the other devotees. And that really enthuses one, inspires one in devotional service. When we appreciate each other. And that's part of one of the loving exchanges. Appreciating the devotees. And accepting appreciation. Like if someone appreciates something you've done, and you say, it was nothing, Prabhu, then you're like slapping them in the face. You say, I appreciate your appreciation, or I appreciate, thank you. And this gives the devotees energy. Any sort of positive sadhu sangha exchanges with the devotees. This is all satsanga. Just like this verse, Amajata Madhata Prana, Valyantascha Paraspara, Katyantas Chamandicha, Dushanticha Ramanticha. So that Krishna Katha means also glorifying the devotees, means talking about devotional service, planning to do devotional service. That's all Krishna Katha. Like if you're building a temple and you're talking about how to build a temple, it's all Krishna Katha. It's not just Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan. Okay, any other questions or comments or arguments? It's actually time for deeds. Questions? No?
Yeah. You briefly explained the devotional say this. So the first thing is like hearing. So how would we get a taste for like hearing?
The first thing is sadhu sangha. Ado shraddha sadhu sangota bhajana kriya. Because you hear from devotees. You can't just hear without devotees. The shravana has to be from devotees. Vaishnava mukho kirnam puttam hadikatam ritam shravana naiva kartavyam sarva chista yatapayam. It says if you hear from someone who's not a devotee, then it's like milk touched by the lips of the serpent. So you have to hear from someone who's devoted, someone who's connected into something succession, someone who's serving his spiritual master nicely. First process, I mean, we know, shravana, to hear is the first process, but that shravana is dependent upon sadhu sangha. And if we don't, so we may say, I'm hearing from a good person. You may be hearing from a good person, but if we're not having proper sadhu sangha with others, then we'll never progress. Because you're hearing, and at the same time you're committing offenses. Then you'll never get a taste for hearing. We wonder why so many devotees go away, because they've lost their taste. That happens. I mean, we all remember that when we first came to Krishna consciousness, we probably experienced more ecstasy than we're experiencing now. At least many people for that. And that's because before we came to Krishna consciousness, we didn't get a chance to offend devotees. And now we have a chance to offend devotees. So offenses are not only commission, they're also omission. Now, if you don't understand those words, I'll describe. Commission means you do something. You say something bad to a devotee. You hurt them. Omission means you avoid respecting them and loving them. Serving them. That's omission. You understand? Commission and omission. So we have to be very careful. We're dealing here with Krishna's dear devotees. We have to be very careful with each other. Madanvi savadana mate. Caution. Okay, time to go. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Haribol.